This is Nigel Thistledown's garden. Before we begin, do be a dear and subscribe. It helps gardeners find their way.
Today, we're going to talk about something most of you have probably leaned against, climbed over, or simply ignored: the garden wall. Now, I know what you're thinking. A wall is a wall, Nigel. It keeps the neighbor's terrier from depositing unpleasantries among my delphiniums, and that's quite enough philosophy for one structure. But I'm here to tell you, with all the authority of a man who once spent 3 weeks training a recalcitrant apricot against a south-facing brick surface in Gloucestershire, that you are magnificently wrong. A wall is never just a wall. Not in a garden. Modern gardens have become obsessed with borders and fences, and those ghastly plastic screening panels. We think in terms of property lines now, of keeping things out. But garden walls, the proper ones our ancestors built with thought in stone, weren't about separation at all. They were about transformation. They shaped microclimates, influenced entire cultures of cultivation, and made possible crops that had no business growing in Britain's temperamental embrace. Let me take you back a bit. In medieval times, monastery gardens were wrapped in walls that served as sanctuary and structure. These enclosures created a separate world where tender herbs could flourish, and contemplation could happen without the wind howling through your cassock. Then came the Renaissance, when walls became as much about showing off as horticulture. But it was the Victorians who really understood what a wall could do. They invented the heated wall, essentially a stone structure with flues running through it, heated by furnaces, allowing exotic produce to be grown in impossible climates. Peaches in Yorkshire, nectarines in Northumberland. Imagine Britain so desperate for a peach, it built a radiator into a wall. That's commitment, or possibly madness, though I've always found the two difficult to distinguish in gardening. The genius of a proper garden wall lies in what it does to temperature and air. A south-facing wall, warmed by sun throughout the day, releases that heat slowly through the evening, creating a pocket of warmth that can mean the difference between survival and genuine thriving. It traps solar energy like a thermal battery, tempering frost that would otherwise blacken tender growth. North-facing walls provide blessed shade for ferns and hostas, and all those plants that would wilt under direct sun. East and west walls are for the experimentalists, the brave souls willing to work with morning light or afternoon heat. There's a crucial distinction every gardener should understand. Survival is not the same as thriving. A plant can survive almost anywhere if you're stubborn enough. But thriving requires understanding what a plant truly wants. And often what it wants is the particular cocktail of sun, warmth, and shelter that only a well-positioned wall can provide. I learned this the hard way trying to grow Mediterranean herbs against a north wall in Devon. The rosemary developed what I can only describe as depression, and the thyme simply gave up and died. Walls don't just create favorable conditions, they invite discipline, which many modern gardeners flee from. But espalier fan training, cordons, these are forms of botanical origami that transform an ordinary fruit tree into something both productive and beautiful. I've always maintained that constraint, properly applied, often produces better fruit and certainly better drama. No one ever trained a peach tree against a chicken wire fence and wrote poetry about it. The social dimension of garden walls deserves consideration too. In literature, walled gardens are always where interesting things happen. Secret meetings, stolen kisses, plots against the crown. There's a psychic comfort to enclosure that gardeners understand instinctively. The mind gardens when the body feels safe. Gardening is always partly theatrical, and walls create both stage and threshold. They also, and I speak from experience, provide excellent cover for gossip, which has always grown more vigorously behind stone than in open air. So, what happened? Speed happened, and cost happened. Cheap fencing became ubiquitous. Plastic screening panels that claim to offer privacy while offering approximately as much substance as a politician's promise. We've lost the heat advantage, the training ground, the magic. Speed is the enemy of craft, particularly in gardens where time is supposedly the point. But here's the hopeful bit. Garden walls can be reclaimed. If you have even one wall in your garden, you can use it properly. A south-facing wall is crying out for something trained against it. Figs are ideal if you have patience. And if you don't have patience, you should be gardening anyway. Creating a warmed microclimate doesn't require Victorian engineering budgets. Modern gardeners can achieve similar effects through intelligent positioning and perhaps dark painted surfaces that absorb heat. Espalier is easier than it looks. You're training a tree to grow flat against a wall in a specific pattern, securing branches as they grow. It's a conversation between you and the tree, conducted over years. For those in cold regions, walls offer the possibility of extending growing seasons beyond what your climate permits. I've coaxed peppers into production in places where peppers had no business germinating, simply by giving them a south wall and protection from wind. And for renters with small gardens who assume this is irrelevant, nonsense. One wall can change everything. Even a courtyard with a single warm wall offers opportunities that an open space twice the size cannot match. There's a deeper truth here. The garden is a room. Without edges, without definition, a garden is merely landscape, which is lovely, but lacks intention. Walls give gardens intelligible shape. They create the possibility of composition. A garden without boundaries is like a sentence without punctuation. Comprehensible, perhaps, but lacking the small moments of pause that give meaning depth. I grew up in a crumbling estate where the walls still stood, but the gardens within them had gone to seed. Those walls remained, patient and solid, waiting for someone to remember their purpose. I spent hours as a boy in the old walled kitchen garden, seeing where espaliered fruit trees had once been trained, their ghost patterns still visible in weathered brick. The walls taught me patience, long before any human did. They showed me that proper work endures, that structures built with thought and care can outlive temporary neglect. Garden walls were never built to keep life out, but to coax it in more tenderly. They weren't barriers but frameworks, structures that created the conditions for tenderness and growth, and the quiet triumphs that happen when you give a plant exactly what it needs. In forgetting this, we've lost something valuable. Not just horticultural advantage, but a certain kind of relationship with our gardens. But the knowledge isn't gone, merely dormant, waiting for someone to remember, to train, to try again. And walls make excellent teachers. They're patient, they're honest, and they never charge consulting fees.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Nigel Thistledown's Garden.
Brought to you by Inception Point AI. Subscribe, like, and comment for more.